What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 award winner in the innovation category given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And you know what I say? You're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And as I said, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. Like to say, shout out to everyone who's watching this live on the replay. You will need to listen to this conversation live or on the replay. We always like to have new friends on the Dr. Vibe Show. I'll give you this gentleman or share you this gentleman in just a moment. But if you've been keeping up with me lately, I've been talking about a book. This is the book I've been talking about. This is the book that kept me reading. There we go. We're in sync. Kept me reading while I was on the plane to Yellowknife and back from Yellowknife. Let me read you about it. In life, we often face many challenges and hardships, from relationship mistakes, identity issues, not fitting society's mold of who they believe we should be, or simply not knowing what our next step is in life. On some days, it feels as if everything is absolutely great. Other days, it appears that we've stumbled and fallen, and no matter how much we try, it is so difficult to get back up. Please know that while you fail, while you stumble, while you're trying to navigate through what's happening in your life, understand that you are not alone in the journey. In this book, you will read open and honest stories about the everyday man who has had his share of struggles but found his way to become the best version of himself that he could ever be. This book is not about 10 men who fell down along their journey of life. This book is about 10 individuals who, after falling, through resiliency, tenacity, and discipline, found it within themselves to stand back up. The title of the book is New Me, 10 Men, 10 Stories of Perseverance. I had the opportunity to have one of the authors on last week, Danny Stone. I'm blessed and highly favored tonight, and everyone here is blessed and highly favored tonight to have the lead, the driving force of this movement with us tonight, Jeff A.D. Martin. Mr. Martin, long time. How you been?
Woo, Dr. Vibe, thank you so much for having me on. I am so grateful for this opportunity just to sit with you, to talk with you, to vibe with you, and just really break open this book.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to give it the just and necessary time to really break it open tonight. And I'm looking forward to another epic conversation, this time
Absolutely.
generated by yourself. As we do with new friends that come on the Dr. Vibe Show, can you give a little background about yourself, where you grew up, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Jeff A.D. Martin, I am an author. I am a speaker. I am a giver of love. I am just someone who wants to see our community strive and do better. And I grew up in the Toronto area, grew up in a certain area of Toronto called Rexdale. Rexdale is an area that's full of love. It's full of families who just want to see their children do well. But unfortunately, it's also a neighborhood that's full of violence, at least when I was growing up, full of violence, full of drugs. And so I grew up in that type of environment. I was blessed to be raised by two parents who made sure that I stayed on the path I should stay on. However, there was some influence, I would say, that I did have growing up. But based on the things that I saw growing up, based on circumstances that I struggled through in life, I realized that I had a gift, and my gift was being able to help other people to strive to be the best version of themselves. And so I've been doing that in a lot of different methods through this book that we're about to talk about, through a children's book that I have, through motivational speaking in schools and organizations, through mentoring and coaching, and just, in any way I can, giving back to people who need the help.
Now, what you are now wasn't what you were in Rexdale, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What you are now is not what you were in Rexdale.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, I've done a lot of growing. I've done a lot of stretching. And who I've become now is a result of me really pushing my way through life, figuring out some really difficult circumstances, having my own mentors, my own coaches. And now I'm able to stand up on my own 2 feet, and I can pull anyone along with me who's willing to come. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of growth since my adolescent years.
Rexdale at times can be a challenging neighborhood.
Yes,
How
it
did
can.
you, how did you deal with that? I don't want to say how you survived that. How did you deal with Rexdale?
Well, again, I mentioned that I have two loving parents who are still alive, who are still together. And although my parents are from Jamaica, my parents, although they weren't the type of parents who said, I love you, right? They weren't the type of parents who gave you a hug and a kiss. At least my father wasn't really that type of person. My mom, she had the gentler side. But overall, I always knew my parents would be there for me. I always knew that they loved me and they showed it in their own unique way. And so in my times of struggle growing up as a child, as a teen, even in my early 20s, I always had my parents as that anchor to show me, okay, you're going off too much to the left or to the right. But when I could see my parents, when I could see the life that they lived, I knew that they were always that anchor that brought me back. And so I would say that that was one of the key elements of me being able to come up in a tough circumstance, not just me, but my siblings as well, come up in a tough circumstance and been able to get through it, and not only but actually grow from it and being able to use my own lessons to help others in life.
You've mentioned a lot already about your parents. What was special, and what was special about your parents, especially during your early years? What made them special and endearing to you?
Well, like I said, it's them being that rock, that anchor. My parents introduced Christianity to me. My parents showed me what love looked like, what being in love looks like, and being together, what that looks like. And I know I'm super fortunate because a lot of people out there don't have that type of influence. Not everybody has a father in their life. Not everybody has parents who are still together to this day. And so I'm so grateful for that because they were able to show me that even without saying it, they were able to just show it, to live it, which I think is probably the biggest example that any of us can do. When you live that example, as opposed to just telling somebody, it can leave a stronger feeling than just telling somebody when you can see someone living an example. And so I would say that that was one of the biggest lessons I got from them.
Now, it sounds like at a young age you realize how valuable that is, because not every young person knows how valued that love, that caring is at a younger age. Did you realize and understand that when you were a young Jeff Martin?
I don't think I really saw the value in its entirety growing up. I think as you get older, as you get wiser, I'm married now to my beautiful wife Natasha. I have children of my own. I've been able to grow in my wisdom, being married for as long as I have, having my children for as long as I have, and you start to appreciate what your parents had to go through. And so I saw it as a child. I would say that I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now, because now I could see it. I can understand what they went through because I'm going through it as well. I can understand the path that they had taken, and that's helped to guide me to where I am now.
One of the words that I think of when I see you, whether it's online or offline, is servant.
Mm,
Where did you get the heart to be the servant you are?
that's a great question. You know, I think there's a couple of answers for that. So one of my answers I would say is going to be my father. And again, I just finished saying that my father wasn't the type of person to come out and say, I love you. But he showed it in different ways. And even to this day, I can tell you that when my dad goes to church, he always brings a ton of things with him, a ton of candy, a ton of bread. He's always bringing something with him that he can give out to everybody at church. And that's just who he's always been. I've grown up seeing that. And I would say a big part of me has come from that, seeing him serving. And so I've just really followed in the same path in finding my own way to serve. And then I say as well that for me, we all have distant mentors, meaning someone that you may have never met, but you really look up to them. And growing up for me, Martin Luther King, which, a lot of people would say, for me, he was a big mentor. And the reason why I say that, because whenever he spoke on TV, and he passed away way before I was alive, but anytime there's a video of him speaking on TV, my parents, they would stop what they were doing. I'm saying, like, if my mom was vacuuming or washing the dishes, if my dad was anywhere in earshot of that TV and they heard the voice of Martin Luther King, they would stop what they were doing and they would watch. And even as a young age, I didn't know who Martin Luther King was. I didn't understand who he was. It's in his entirety. However, I saw the way he captured my parents' attention. And that's was really my introduction to speaking, because I was like, if you can capture someone's attention like that, then whoo, like what can't you do?
Nice, nice. Do you remember the first time you spoke publicly?
I remember the first time I spoke publicly as a speaker,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I remember when I was really young, going to church, and I was asked to read a Bible scripture, and I went up there and I just stumbled all over it. It was a mess, right? But at that point, I didn't I didn't label myself as a speaker at that point, right? So I
Right.
was really young, 12, 13 years old. It was a mess. Um, but as I got older, so maybe I would say 8 to 9 years ago, give or
Yeah.
take, I remember standing in front of students and saying to myself, I want to be a speaker. And I stood in front of these students, and just like when I was 10 or 12, stumbling over that Bible scripture, I stumbled over my words in front of the students. And ultimately, I was thinking, oh my goodness, that didn't go as well as I thought it would in my head. However, I didn't stop. I kept going. I kept pushing. I kept pushing. And eventually I was able to work on my craft. I've met some amazing people along the way who have helped me to develop my speaking skills, the techniques that a speaker should have to really hone in on what they're trying to give, to make your story really shine. I was able to use those things. And now, because I've been able to do it so long and work on my craft, like I'm talking about, I'm in the shower, I'm driving in my car, I'm talking to myself, like I'm working on my craft. And because I do that, I put the time in. I've been so blessed with the opportunity to speak in front of crowds all over. I'm doing a small little tour in April in New Brunswick and PEI, and just excited to continue to get out there because, again, I just continue to work on that craft.
Wonderful. Well, let's get to what everyone wants to. Well, not that they don't want to hear about some of your past, but I guess what they really want to hear about is this. So,
Yeah.
where did the vision start with this?
Oh man. So I got to say the vision started the way most of my visions start. It starts at 4 in the morning when I wake up to go use the washroom and my mind is unstable. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy. When
You
my
know what?
mind is racing.
If we lived side by side, our lights would go on at the same time.
Probably people would be like, what is going on in those houses? Why are the
Yeah,
lights on?
yeah.
Um,
Go on.
but yeah, just when ideas are in your head, but they don't make sense. When you're alive and awake and you're conscious, you can somewhat control your ideas. But when you're in that daze and that sleep, your ideas are kind of moving and shaking and they don't really make sense. And I remember it popping into my head saying, you got to create a book that has a number of different stories. So if I tell my story and someone doesn't relate to it, they might be able to relate to somebody else's story. And that's when it came to me, honestly, in the middle of the night. And I remember sometime during the day talking to my wife and saying, I think this is a bit of an idea. And we discussed it and I sat on it for a little bit thinking, how do I want to mold it and really birth it? And as time went on, I started looking for guys who can be in the book. When I decided, okay, I want it to be men. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So why did you want to specifically, was the original idea black men, and also why specifically black men?
So to be honest, the idea wasn't specifically black men. It was specifically men. And
Okay.
even now, the book is open, obviously open for anybody to read it. We have designed it in a way that we're hoping that all men and women will get as much as they can from the book. But I think just being all black men was more coincidental. I wanted men because I wanted for us to share our story. One of the things that we as men don't often do is share,
Mm-hmm.
right? And again, coming from a Caribbean background, my father loved him to death, but my father doesn't share, right? Talking to other friends, their fathers don't share. Maybe it's a Caribbean thing, maybe it's not, maybe it's all men. I think it might be all men, but typically men often don't share. And I wanted to put together a book that I could really dig into somebody's story and touch somebody's heart, because there's young boys out there who are struggling, who are dying, who are getting caught up in different things that they shouldn't be getting caught up in. And if I can use my story to help them in their circumstance, then that's exactly what I want to do. And so the fact that we have 10 stories, again, someone may read my story and may not like it, but they can read Danny's story or Jamal's story or Randall's story, and they actually really tune into that story. And that's a story that's going to change their life. So it wasn't about Black men. It really is just about men as a whole to stand up and take control of our life, being able to admit to our faults, stand in our greatness, and really be able to hone in on the skills that we have and just blow things up and just really make our lives as good as they can be.
Okay, so you come up with this idea, you share it with your wife. I love process. So what was the next step? Like, did you start looking for gentlemen, and how easy or challenging was the process getting those 10 men?
Yeah. So even going back, you say, telling my wife, sharing it with my wife, she's like, are you sure you want to take this on? Because she knows how ideas pop in my head and I want to run with everything. And I'm like, I think there's something there. And so the process of finding the men was one of the most daunting tasks because I had to find a specific type of man. And what I was looking for is somebody who is active in the community in one form or the other, because I don't want anybody to gain popularity from this book for the sake of gaining popularity. I want the hearts of the men who are involved to be genuine in the sense of, we want this book to help. Like, if we gain popularity in the process, if we can make a little money in the process, then that's great. That's perfect. But the main objective for me was finding that their heart was in the right place. And so finding that was difficult, I got to tell you, because there's a lot of guys out there who show like they're all about the community, but when you really dig in to what they're doing, it's not what they say they are.
So next conversation piece, two-part piece. How long did it take to nail down to 10, and how many men did you ask to get it down to 10?
Okay. So I picked the number 10. Initially, I was thinking 12, but I was thinking that's too much. And I thought 8, no, it's not enough. I thought 10 was a nice round number. People think about 10. I think it's a nice round number. That's how we kind of got to 10, or how I got to 10. Picking the guys, like I said, was difficult. There was some men that I did come across. Like I said, you see them on social media, you see them in public, and they seem like they have their hearts in the right place. And then when you start to dig in, you see that that's sometimes not the case, or it's just not exactly what I'm looking for. I don't want to dog anybody,
No.
who might have been, so maybe it wasn't what I'm looking for. But yes, I did come across some men who were perfect for what I was looking for. However, some of them were just too busy. They had other things going on. Some of them kind of, they started and they pulled out based on other commitments. Yep. But ideally, again, being able to find 10 men who have their hearts in the right place in terms of trying to help community, trying to help people grow, people strive, putting themselves last while they put other people first. That's exactly what I was looking for. And I think that I found that with the 10 men that we have in the book now.
Don't worry. You're done good. You're done good. No, you're done good. You're done good, my brother. So
perfect.
Because I, as much as we want to talk about your section, I'm fascinated on the process of getting 10 men together, not all of them living geographically close to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To make this happen. So you have at least one person that doesn't even live in the same country. How did you come across him?
So we're talking about Dr. Joseph. And Dr. Joseph, actually, funny enough, so I have a children's book that came out in 2018. And this children's book shows positive role models within the greater Toronto area. It shows illustrated versions of people. And Dr. Joseph was one of the people who was in my children's book. So the two publications I have out, he's a part of both of them. Yeah, which is real cool. And I came across him because he grew up in the same neighborhood that I did in Rexdale. He's a little younger than me, I think. And I got a chance to hear his story and what he's about, and the fact that he came up in the same tough neighborhood, but now he is a urologist. He's a doctor who specializes in a certain medicine, which is, I'm so proud that he's able to do that, because he stands as an example of someone who grew up in a neighborhood that is, difficult, that is tough. And he stands up now as a doctor, not just a doctor, but a specialty doctor, a specialist. And man, he's such a great example and role model of what you can achieve even in the toughest of neighborhoods.
Nice. So from the time you've got your talent, let's use the term talented 10th.
Yes, I like that. I like that.
There you go. There you go. Your talented 10th to how long did it take from the final talented 10th to the first book coming offline?
So the whole thing, I usually say it took about 3 years.
Wow.
A 3-year process. Yeah. Finding the talented 10, I remember distinctly that it was mid to late 2017 when I was able to finalize. Actually, it was a little bit past that. So probably late 2017, early 2018, when I could finalize on the 10 that actually stuck in the book. Because there were some guys that jumped in and it was a little bit too much for them, too time consuming. So they jumped out. So I would say, late 2018 that I had my 10 and it was go time. It's like, all right, guys, let's get writing. Let's start putting our stories together and see how this manifests.
Wow. So here's another thing. Of the talented 10, how many had written even a segment in a book before?
So of the guys that are in the book, I know that Danny Stone is an author. He has his book. Randall, he published a book of his poetry. He's a talented spoken word artist. And Keith Hill has his book as well previously. And actually, Jelani Daniel has a couple of books out. Nobody else has a book as far as I know. I know the guys are working on something, but none have books. So it was a brand new experience for a lot of people.
You know, man, you a strong black man. You're a strong black man because I'm telling you, getting more than half of the authors had never written a book before.
Never written a book.
Do you know, did you realize what you're getting yourself into?
Sometimes I wonder if I really did at the time, because it was definitely a lot of work. It was a lot of knocking heads, just in the sense of reading stories and saying, going to the couple of fellows and saying, guys, I see what you have here. You have a great topic. Let's expand on it. Let's explore. Let's add more. Let's unleash this part. Let's overturn this rock. And some of the guys were, as men, we kind of butt heads, a little bit reluctant, but ultimately somehow, some way, right, I was able to push them into opening up and really telling a story. And I believe some of them were really, they were surprised by what they could put out. Some of them, were really able to dig into some of the issues that they were going through. But again, somehow, some way, man, through God or whatever the case might be, I was able to push these guys into really creating a story that people can relate to.
How did it feel to hold the first copy of this in your hand?
So I got to tell you, I am not one to celebrate. Okay. I don't celebrate a whole lot, and maybe that's my internal issues that I deal with. But when I got the book in my hand, I gave myself a clap, congratulations, and I said, keep going. Good. I said, keep going. Right. Good. So yeah, I don't, and maybe I got to, celebrate a little bit more. When the book did come out, my wife and my kids, we went out, had a little dinner. But outside of that, I really think, we're only here for a short period of time when you really look at the lifespan of a human being, right? And as much as I want to celebrate, we do have to celebrate the small wins, but I'm not going to celebrate, have a party, have an overnight party, have a morning party, right? I'm going to clap, congratulations, Jeff, and keep it moving. So that's exactly how I treated it when I got the first copy.
Right. So I want to start drilling down on your chapter in the book.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to write about Ugly Gift? Because when I was on the plane reading it, and the first line I'm hearing, this is the first line of Jeff's section. Have you ever heard of the term ugly gift? And like I'm going, I could have got up in the middle of the plane and said, this man crazy. I kept quiet. Why did you behave myself? I'm just going, this is going to be interesting. Ugly gift. But why did you decide to write about ugly gift?
because I believe that everybody, if you are a human being, you have received an ugly gift at some point in your life. An ugly gift is something that is given to you that you don't ask for. So we have gifts. We have presents that you get during your birthday, during Christmas. You might get that watch. You might get that, whatever it is, a present that you like. But then you put the ugly in front of it. We get something in life that we don't ask for. And sometimes those are small things like losing your cell phone. Sometimes that's small things like stubbing your toe. But then unfortunately in life, we get bigger ugly gifts as well. And that's like a diagnosis to cancer. That's like losing a loved one. That's like a divorce. That's like bankruptcy. That's like being diagnosed with something. And the way I look at it is no matter how difficult the situation might be in life, I always believe that there's always a lesson that we can learn from that ugly gift. There's always a present waiting for you. There's always a skill. There's a talent. There's a silver lining. There's always something within that difficult circumstance. And I called it the ugly gift because I want people to understand that no matter how ugly it is, it's still a gift. And if we can view it that way, then we can kind of find the beauty in even the most difficult circumstances. And so that's why I called it the ugly gift.
Was that thought process developed on your own, or was that something based on your life experiences and your parental experience, your experience being the son of great parents?
So the name of the title of my chapter, as you talked about the first line there, if you keep going, I speak about having a conversation with somebody and that person, we were talking about how life brings you difficulties, but we have to overcome. And he was like, oh yeah, that's the ugly gift. And I was like, what, the ugly gift? And that's actually the first time I heard the term myself. And so I sat with it for a while. I thought about it and I'm like, what he's saying is actually true. Whenever we are given things in life, no matter how difficult, cancer, again, divorce, whatever it is, there's always a lesson that we can learn. And so, the more I thought about it, the more it just kind of played in my head. And I said, that makes so much sense. And that's how the title came to be, is through that conversation. And then, so yeah, as you said, kind of going back to my parents, I thought about my parents. I thought about circumstances that I have been through. And I started to reevaluate difficult circumstances and thought to myself, what are the lessons that I learned in those difficult circumstances? What are the things that I could extract from those tough circumstances we go through in life? And yeah, that's how I was able to kind of reevaluate my own life and find the silver lining in my ugly gifts.
I really found it fascinating growing up how you were involved with the Toronto Police. And
yeah,
and that really intrigued me, your experience. And we want people to buy the book. There's quite a fascinating story that Jeff talks about, where he lost someone very close to him while he was serving for the Toronto Police, and the battle, the internal battle that you were going through during that time. That, like, and it's one thing to read about it, but Jeff, how challenging was that for you? Because I think I don't think too many people in life go through that sort of challenge, being someone in a police force, losing someone that's close to you. How hard was that? How did you overcome that?
Yeah, so just to clarify, I don't work for Toronto Police. I do work for another police service within the Greater Toronto Area. I won't mention them just because I'm not here representing them.
Yeah.
However, it definitely was one of the most challenging things. And so I graduated from police college in August of 2005. And just 15 or so days after graduating, I remember waking up and looking at my phone, and I had received over 25 missed phone calls that came in throughout the night. Wow. And so when I looked at my phone, I saw that it was all family. And so I knew something was wrong. I knew something was going on. And so I called back one of my cousins, and she was crying and crying and crying. And I said, "Cuz, what's going on?" And the more she tried to speak, the more she stumbled over her words. And eventually she's able to cut through her tears, and she said, "Omar is dead." And Omar was my younger cousin. He was like a little brother. And this is 2005. And for those of you who are in Toronto, I know you have a great reach, which is fantastic. But for those of you who are familiar with Toronto, in 2005, it was dubbed the Summer of the Gun.
Yep.
And that year was really bad when it came to shootings within the communities. And I know that 2019, we're just coming off another bad year. But 2005 was probably the first year we saw where guns just really took over the streets, gang violence, and just, it was a mess. And so Omar was murdered in 2005. We still don't know who is responsible. He was not a part of a gang. He wasn't a part of that type of culture. But again, we just don't know who's involved even to this day. And so my struggle was being a brand new police officer, promising that I'd protect and serve. But then the other side of me learned some of the real tough life lessons I learned growing up in a real tough neighborhood, and feeling the pain that I was feeling and seeing the pain in the eyes of my family. Like, I'm a protector. That's who I am. I look out for my family, and to see the pain that they had and I couldn't take it away, it was really brewing something deep inside me that even when I think about it to this day, it absolutely scares me. It's a feeling of revenge. And so, again, it was a battle between wanting to protect and serve, being the person who I had now become in this uniform. But then the other side of me, the life lessons, the tough life lessons that I learned of wanting to get revenge. And this was a battle that I had for a long time, wanting to go out there and find who these guys were who did this and have their family feel the same pain that we were going through.
That's phenomenal. And before we go further, I'd like to shout out some people. I see Tasha Martin is enjoying this video. Also, Natalie
Beautiful
from the U.S. Thank you for your support watching it, both watching it on Facebook Live. It's appreciated and not taken for granted. And again, if you're watching anywhere, if you have any questions or comments, please share them. And I'm getting Danny and Jeff mixed up. Jeff will certainly answer them to the best of his ability. What really even took it deeper for me, Jeff, was the challenges you were getting from your family.
Yeah, that one there is still a little tough at times for me. And, I'm good with my family. Everyone's good. But at the time, of course, when you go through that type of trauma, that type of incident, losing somebody at such a young age in such a violent way, people want answers. Everybody wants answers. I wanted answers. And I had family who were looking at me now because I was the police. And even though I didn't work for the police service where this all happened, because I was the police, they expected for me to have answers. They expected for me to have an automatic relationship with another police services, homicide investigators, and just automatically get answers. I had family tell me that I should put my uniform on and start knocking on doors and start asking questions. And it doesn't work that way. Just because I had graduated police college, I was still brand new. I didn't know what was going on. I was still getting my feet wet in this job. So, I didn't even know how to write a ticket, let alone investigate a homicide.
That is funny. That is funny.
And so true, right? But yeah, family really wanted answers. And so I know it was the pain. That's where their demands were coming from. And of course, I was in pain as well. And some of their comments caused a little bit more pain for me. But I understood, and I still understand to this day, where it was coming from and why they were acting the way they were at the time.
I always love hearing a journey and storytelling. And one of the best parts of a story for me to hear is when it began to turn for you. And it seemed that someone, almost like an angel, walked into your life. And tell us about that angel that walked into your life.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I really hold that man to a high regard. So I was at work and I was back and forth in my head as I was during that time in terms of my battle. I would say even depression, just spoiling relationships that I had just because I was just not in the place where I should have been. And I was approached by a senior officer. Let me tell you, this person was the exact opposite of me. I was brand new on the job. He had many, many years on. I was a brand new police officer, brand new cadet, and he had 3, 4, 5 ranks above me. Generally somebody who I would think would ignore me because most of them did. Again, I was a young black guy. He was an older white guy, right? Just total opposite of me in many ways. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, Jeff, what's going on?" And I was surprised that he even knew my name, because most of them would walk right by you when you're brand new. And I was like, "Hey, sir." And he said, "I just want to talk to you for a second." And, he told me about a situation that he went through as a young officer, that he lost a loved one at a young age. And funny enough, he had his family that were saying, "We need answers. We need you to go get answers." And the more I heard his stories, the more I realized it was very similar to my cousin Omar. And he was able to say to me, "Jeff, I understand. I really do understand what you're going through, because I've been through it as well. But understand that you have to find a way to turn this around, because this will eat you up. And there's so much potential that you have, but you have to find a way to take that energy and to turn it around." And I didn't really understand energy at the time, in terms of, the energy you put out. I thought it was just energy you put out. But because I was able to put out so much negative energy, I had learned at the time that I could actually put out the same level of energy, but in a positive way. And it was through that conversation is when I learned that. And when he walked away from me, I broke down crying, because it was a bit of an awakening for me. It was a moment for me to finally grieve losing my cousin. And I would say that was the moment that really helped to shape the life that I have now and the path that I'm on now, because of this individual and the conversation we had.
I love the quote here. "From a place of darkness, I was able to rise and emerge into the leader that I was meant to become." It's a powerful quote.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Powerful,
Thank you.
powerful quote.
Thank you.
Let me ask, and I, in my heart, I know that you will be able to share this. What would you like to say to Omar right now?
Oh, man. So it's funny you say that, because one of the things I often speak about is when you lose a loved one, sometimes you lose them in situations where they're passing. I had a cousin who passed away from cancer, and I had an opportunity to sit at her bedside and speak to her, laugh with her, cry with her through many weeks until she passed away. With Omar, I didn't have that. It was a phone call that he was gone. And so, wow, to have a conversation with Omar, I would have to tell him that I absolutely loved him, that I love him, that I was proud of who he was becoming. Omar wasn't perfect. Omar made mistakes. But I was with Omar when he first came to Canada as a young child. I'm the one who helped to mold him in terms of him learning to play basketball, him understanding the school system. I even taught him how to talk to the young ladies. And, I would have to tell him that I'm proud of him and who he was becoming, and to see the potential that he had in him, see the leadership that he had, because he did have a leadership in him. I would tell him that I was just super proud of him, of everything that he's done and where he was going with his life.
I know that you have this heart, so I'll also put this out there. I know that legacy is very important to you. You have
It
children,
is.
you have a wife, you have a family. What legacy do you want to leave when it comes to Omar?
When it comes to legacy for me, one of the things I often talk about is that, for the most part, I don't know who invented the door. I don't know who invented floor mats. I don't know who invented the pencil. And, if you do some research, go online and Google, you might find some names attached to these things, right? But I don't know who invented hair gel or who invented a pen and so forth. But whoever it was that invented those things, the legacy of who they are is still here. They've left a legacy behind, because the things that they have brought to this world, the gifts that they were able to bring to this world, they're still here. We use them every single day. Although we don't know their names, they have been able to bring forth a gift that has been left in this world. And for me, I want to be able to leave a similar type of legacy. I don't need my name in lights. I don't need my name shouted on the rooftops or Hollywood calling my name. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to be able to leave a legacy, to know that I've been able to help as many people as I can while I'm here. And so that means helping out my family, my children, so they can become the best men that they become in future husbands, being able to understand finances, being able to understand who they are as people, And then I want to be able to expand that and help out as many youth as I can, as many young adults as I can, as many adults, as many seniors, as many people as I can. Because I think if I can do that, then I can carry on Omar's legacy. And I say that because I don't believe I'd be on this path now if it wasn't for his passing.
Yeah.
And I know that I was on a positive path,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for all of that, of course, if I could take him back, I would. If I could reverse the hands of time and take him back, I absolutely would. We know it doesn't work like that. But because of his passing and because of the struggle I had to go through, that's where I am now based on all of that. And so with me doing everything I'm doing, I am paying homage to Omar and what he meant to me and what that situation did to my life at the time, but ultimately being able to use that ugly gift to go forward and to make change in other people's lives.
Thank you for those last few minutes. I know that everyone out here appreciates it, but most importantly, Omar appreciates it.
Thank you for asking me that. I've never been asked that question before. And yeah, that just takes it to another level of deepness, right?
Yeah.
When you can think about what I would say to Omar.
How important is gratitude in your life?
Gratitude is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing. I am so grateful for the opportunity that every single day that I can open my eyes. And I say that because there's a lot of people out there, we take things for granted. And being someone who does work in law enforcement, I have been to situations where there's car crashes and children have died. I have seen teenagers who have hung themselves or who have taken pills and have left this world earlier than they should. And being in the role of a mentor and a speaker and coming across students, I have spoken to so many students who have gone through difficult circumstances, who are broken. And I am just when I come across these situations, it just reminds me how delicate life can be. And so I'm grateful that every morning that I can get up, I can kiss my beautiful wife. I can, kiss my children every day before they go to school. If I'm in the house, I pray with them before they leave. I have a young baby, 1.5 years. I drop him off to daycare. I pray with him. He's saying amen, right? in his little baby voice. But I'm grateful for the opportunities because I know they can be taken away in an instant. And of course, we are only weeks away from Kobe's passing and his daughter, Gigi. Mm-hmm. And you see someone who had all the money in the world, all the fame, and still, he ran into a situation where his life was taken along with the other 7 people who are on the helicopter. And again, things can just happen. So I'm so grateful for opportunities, no matter how big or small, to speak to anybody who will listen, to be on the show. I'm so grateful because, again, these things just don't happen. You don't just luck into these things. These things take place because you've been putting in the work, putting in the effort, and it grows into opportunities. And so because I've been able to put in the work, I'm grateful that I can be here and to have this conversation with you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you. 2 other areas I want to ask you about. Your belief in God, how much of a foundation that is for you, and I'll introduce the other thing after, but God is an important foundation in your existence.
Yeah.
What would your existence be without God as a foundation?
That's a good question because I haven't experienced that life.
Okay.
So that's a definitely an interesting question. Growing up, I was introduced to God through my parents.
Yep.
However, I tell people that it's important that you find your own relationship because what your parents give you is not necessarily what you need for yourself as you get older and wiser. And so I have found my own relationship with God, especially when it comes to different churches, whatever church you might be a part of. Churches are, and we're going to get into another topic. We don't have to get too deep here, but churches are generally man-made, so to speak, right? Someone at some point said, let's create this religion, let's create this church, let's create this denomination. But you having a relationship with God, a spiritual relationship with God, is something that you can have. So it's not about the rules of the church and what the church allows. Some churches allow you to wear jewelry. Some churches allow you not to. Some churches say that women can wear skirts or pants. Some churches say you can't. But for me, it's about the relationship with God, not so much about the relationship with the church. And so my relationship with God is something I cherish because I believe it's through that relationship I've been able to help to make the choices that I've made. And it's through that relationship that I know now that I'm walking in my purpose because of the results that I see from the work that I'm doing. And that's because of the relationship I have with God.
Nice. Another thing I want you to share about, and I'm sure you needed it during this journey of the book, patience.
Ooh, patience. You have to ask my wife about that one.
Oh Lord, no, not going. Like she said, she liked the video. I don't want to have her unchecked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she might say I need more patience, but yeah, I am one who wants to see things happen now. I want to, if you give me the opportunity, I want to push and shove until it happens. I don't want to wait till a year from now. So
Right.
I am still work in progress. I'm still working on my patience, but it took patience for this book to come together.
Yes.
And yeah, and as we build it to become more than just a book, a movement, our plan is to take this book on tour. It takes patience to ensure that we have all the pieces together. And when you hear about someone who wins the lottery, the statistics show that most people go broke after 3.5, 5 years or so because they didn't build that wealth. They got it instantly. You hear about basketball players and football players going broke after they play because they didn't build that wealth over years. It was given to them instantly. And so patience gives you that building. So then when you finally get to that goal, you can look back and say, I've done all these things to get here. So now I can teach from it. I've learned from it and I can teach from it. I can help somebody else grow from it because of the patience that I had to put in to grow that goal, to grow that, whatever it is, that dream that you have. So patience is definitely something that is absolutely needed and vital in growing anything we're trying to do.
When did you realize that this was not just a book, but a movement?
I would say from day one,
Okay.
from the inception of the idea. I saw that there was ideas that can blossom from it. Now, of course, through hanging out with my brothers, the 10 brothers in the book, some of these guys have come with some amazing ideas that we're going to run with. But, even back then when it was first an idea, I didn't necessarily know where it could go, but I knew that the potential was there of really having this thing sprout roots and sprout different stems and really growing to other things, not just a book, but an actual tour, an actual workshops, online courses, a number of things that we're thinking about. I thought about that from the very beginning.
Nice. I'm going to ask every one of the authors this question, so I'm going to put it on your lap. The book launch, recall that day, the day of the book launch to our viewers and listeners.
The book launch was absolutely fabulous. So even starting out, the weather, going up to the day, the weather, our weather friends on TV, on the news, were calling for a shower, like a heavy shower, and then having it
like a monsoon. I think they were calling like.
Pretty much, yeah. So that scared a lot of people off. A lot of friends and family who said they were coming didn't come because of that. Saying that, though, I believe that the people who were supposed to be there were there. And we still had a large number of people show up. The mayor of Toronto, John Tory, was there, not only there, but he came on stage and he spoke. He talked about his gratitude towards me, having started this, and then his gratitude towards the guys being a part of it. And just being able to be in that space was phenomenal because it was something that I was able to create. And oftentimes we wait for opportunities. We wait to get hired. We wait for our boss to give us a raise. We wait for this. We wait for that. This is something that I didn't wait for. This is something that I said I wanted and I'm going to create. And it was difficult. It was tough. My knees are scraped. I hit my head a couple times, but in the process, I was able to create something. And being able to create this and actually having the launch day and having people come out and all 10 men sharing their stories from their hearts, pictures to go with it to enhance their stories. It was amazing. I saw people in the crowd who were near tears. People came up to me and said, Jeff, your story, I almost started crying. I heard people having the same impact on other speakers. It was just a phenomenal day being able to experience that, to know that that was something we created. No one handed us that. We created that ourselves. It was phenomenal.
So I want to drill down even more. What memories do you have about your sharing during that event?
My memories of me sharing during that event was probably the fact that my wife and my children were in the audience and they had an opportunity to hear me. They've come out many times before, when I've spoken, but being able to show my children that they can create something. And again, it goes back to legacy. Many people have jobs that they go to every single day that they can't stand. And I'm trying to show my children that if you want to have that life, you can. But if you choose to create your own, you can do that as well. And being able to be there and to speak in front of my kids, my brother, his wife, and my niece were there, friends and family were there, to be able to speak in front of them. And again, to show the people who I love that this is something I created. It was phenomenal because I want people to understand that you live once. And the one life we have, you can do whatever it is you choose to do. If you want to be president of the United States or prime minister of Canada, you can. Or if you want to bum around, you can. But you get to choose what direction your life goes into. And that night showed me and it showed everybody there that you have an opportunity to create, and you can create it and make it happen. And nobody can stop you because this is something you have for yourself.
Nice. Nice. Very, very nice. This movement, what is this journey, if anything, taught you about yourself that you did not know at the beginning of the journey?
So I would say this journey has taught me that I really have an act for bringing people together. And I feel like I've got bits and pieces of that over my life in planning different events. But I think now I realize that that is a part of my gift, is being able to pull people together, is be able to run a project like this. 10 men, 10 strong-willed men is not an easy thing to deal with. There's times we did knock heads. There's times that we struggled. There's times that it was frustrating. I wanted to throw my hands up. But ultimately, in the end, obviously, I did not quit. The book is here. And so I would say for me, that's one of the lessons that I learned is really having an knack to pull people together and get them to produce, get them to see the bigger picture, because this book is bigger. I told this to many people, including some of the guys who had to back out. This book is bigger than any of us, including me. And I can't allow anyone, as much as I love you, I can't allow anyone, including me, to stop this train from leaving the station, because there's people out there who have to have this book. They need to hear the lessons. And so, yes, one of the things I learned is being able to pull guys together and pull the best out of them because of the greatness that this book potentially could have in somebody's life.
Excellent. Can you give a special moment from the movement so far?
So it's been phenomenal just in terms of the people who have reached out to us. You know what? I'm going to give you this moment. So because of what we've done with the book and been able to put it out there, somebody was able to bless us with a great opportunity. And that opportunity was to have a table for free at an event where Barack Obama was going to be speaking at.
Yep.
And on top of that, because I was the one that kind of put this book together, I was gifted with the opportunity to actually meet Mr. 44 himself, Barack Obama. And so I had an opportunity to actually shake his hand, something that I never thought would ever happen in my life, right? Not even on my radar, because I'm like, that's like touching Mars, like not even on my radar. And that happened. And I would have to say that the most phenomenal part of this journey so far is all the brothers were like, okay, Jeff, it's on you to get this book into his hand. You got to get this book in his hand. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can work this out. So I go in the room. It's like a little room in the convention center, and there's 50 of us there. And while we're walking in, of course, there are security like everywhere, right? There's like 40 guys in the room, security. And as we're walking, there's a table, and they say you got to put your cell phone, everything on this table. You can't take any selfies. We'll take the picture for you. And as I'm walking by, I have the book in my hand. I put it on the table, and then I pick it back up, and I look at one of the when special agents, and I say, "Am I able to give him this book?" And he says, "No, you can't give him anything."
Oh.
And I say, "Can I actually hold the book and take a picture with the book in my own hand?" And he looks puzzled, and then he asks one guy, another partner, and then that partner asks another partner, and they all come back and are like, "Yeah, you could hold the book." And I'm like, "So I can hold the book? I can actually take a picture with it in my hand?" And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." So I'm like I'm like my biggest dream has come true, right? Like I'm gonna get Barack Obama in this picture with this book, New Me. And so I'm walking, I'm getting close. I'm like this, the next person in line. I turn the corner. There he is, Barack Obama. I'm excited. I'm like, this is insane. He is real. Like he's not just on TV. And just as I'm about to walk towards him with the book in my hand, one of the special agents sees the book and snatches it from my hand. He did not get the same communication as the other guys on the other side of the room who allowed me to have the book. He snatches it from my hand. I'm like, good Lord. So now I'm walking up to meeting Barack Obama, and I'm disappointed. Like, who's disappointed trying to meet Barack Obama, right? But I'm disappointed. I'm like, my emotions are like back and forth. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm sad. So I meet him. He's like, "How you doing? What's your name?" I'm like, "Jeff, sir, it's good to meet you." He's like, "Let's take a picture." Take a picture. It's a 10-second moment. Yeah. Afterwards, I walk away from him, and the book comes back to me. And so I turn to one of the ladies in the room who's working along with this team, and I say, "Is there any way I can get in the book?" And she's like, "Absolutely. I'll give it to his PR person."
Right.
And she seems friendly. She seems legit. I give it to her, and I walk out of the room, right? I don't know if it ended up in the trash. I don't know if it ended up on his plane, and one day he'll tweet about it. But you never know, right? You take your shot, you see what happens, right? So that I would have to say is the most phenomenal moment of this book path, this book journey so far.
I'm going to make a suggestion for you.
Yes.
I would say that you reach out to you send that book to his foundation.
Okay.
And a lot and share that story when you send it to them, and also send your picture with him as part of it.
Okay. I'm liking that.
Share the circumstances on, share the picture, and see if it can get into his hands.
Okay, so we were just talking about, I just mentioned taking your shot, but you just talked about taking your shot, getting fouled, and getting on the foul line and taking a second shot. Well, That's what you just talked about.
No, hey, brother, it's not over until you win. This ain't over yet. Over right?
Absolutely. Love that.
You're the master of the ugly gift, so we gonna make this happen.
That's right, baby. That's right.
Right? So it ain't over, man. We got to get into his hands some way, somehow.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, it was just a phenomenal event, a phenomenal opportunity. And again, you shoot your shot, right? See what happens. So I'm liking the idea that you're putting out there, man. I'm gonna have to give that a try.
No problem. If there's anything I can do to help you out on it, and I actually there's a lady who I've had on the show before that is friends with Michelle and Barack and knew them before they got into politics. So we could maybe use that angle, possibly, if you want to go that route also.
Backdoor. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
So this is good. I don't want to keep you too late because you got a family, so I want to start winding it down. What message do you have from your heart to people who are watching live or on the replay, people who are going through struggle?
So I would say that really ties into the title of the book, New Me. And the title, I'll hold it up again. The title has two meanings. And if you can see this right here, you see the K-N-E-W, and then the N-E-W is in white. So that kind of indicates two titles of the book. And New Me, N-E-W, means that we have to die to the old me for the new me to emerge. And what that means is the problems that we are facing in life, the struggles, the things that have held us down, the depression, the anxiety, we have to learn to die to the old us, meaning to get rid of it, to put it past us, to get through that grudge, that situation that happened with your dad years ago, the situation that happened with your baby moms years ago. We have to learn to step through that and die to the old us, so the new us. Exactly what happened with me with the whole battle back and forth of should I go out there and retaliate or should I not? I had to learn to die to the old me, to put the old me aside so the new me can emerge. The Jeff Martin that sits here today is not the Jeff Martin that was around back then. I had to mature. I had to grow. I had to be wise. I had to use my ugly gift and take the lessons from it. And that's what I recommend for anybody here who's listening, that the struggles that you might have in life, you are bigger than your struggles. You are bigger than the difficulties you're going through. And once you understand that, there's nothing that can stop you in this world. And so I really want people to understand that. And then again, the second title, KNEW, means if you look at the Bible, Jeremiah 1 verse 5 says, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And that just simply means that if you have breath in your body and you are alive, it means that you were seen and you were recognized before you were even born. That means that your life matters. That means that your dreams matter, your thoughts matter, the things that you have going in your head, they matter. And so when you're thinking about depression, when you're thinking about difficulties you're going through, understand, again, I go back to the same point. You are bigger than your difficult circumstances. You are bigger than the obstacles you are facing. It doesn't define who you are. And so if you are someone who right now is listening and you are going through a difficult time, a tough time, this book was written for you. And I say that not to make a sale. It's not about that. The book is genuinely written so we can help each other grow. That's what I want to see. I want to see you grow, because once you become your best self, then you can become your best self for your spouse, for your children, for your community, for the world. But it starts by really becoming the you that you need to be.
I hear you with that. And I guess one of the books that myself and Jeff read, I've come to realization that most things have a birth, death, and resurrection.
Birth, death, and resurrection. Come on, preach.
So just sharing there. That's from a book that, and we're not going to give you the title, but I hope you get it, right? I hope you get it. Well, you know what? I'd like to say thank you so much. This has been long overdue. And funny people, if you want a funny story, we live in the same city. We hardly come across each other. Like the first time I saw him was a few months ago at a bookstore in Toronto called A Different Book List. And we hadn't seen each other for, I don't even know the last time we saw each other before that. And one of the authors of the book, Danny Stone, he told me about this book. He said, look, some way, somehow, I'm going to get all 10 of you on this thing.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
So 2 are down, 8 are to go. So people, get the book, not just for you, but for others, and tell other people about it. So, Jeff, any final comments, and how can people get more on the book, buy the book, and also find out more information about you?
Yeah, so quick final comments. Again, I'm just so appreciative of this opportunity of you opening the doors to us. We met 2, 3, 4 years ago. We had a little get-together conference. I met you for the first time, and from then I knew that you were someone who had something amazing going on. I heard about your show. I took in your show, and again, just the work that you do is phenomenal. I thank you for that. And if anybody's looking to get a hold of me, I am reachable. You can Google me. You can hit me up on social media at Jeff A.D. Martin. Jeff A.D. Martin. My webpage is the same thing, jeffadmartin.com. And yeah, I would love to get feedback from this book, because again, this book is not just about putting out a book and you putting it down. There's lessons after every story that you can take with you. It's almost like a pull-out page that you could take with you and have it applied to your life. And I would love to hear feedback from anybody who does pick up the book, because I would love to know which story resonated with you and how you used it to propel yourself forward. So again, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from anybody who wants to talk.
Wonderful. And how can they purchase the book? There's a number of different places they can do that. Where can they get it?
Yeah, the book right now is on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. If you know any of the brothers who wrote the book personally, you can hit them up, of course. If you're living in Toronto, you can go to another book list.
A different book list.
I'm sorry, a different book list. Yes, I was getting it mixed up with another Storytime bookshop, which should be having our book soon.
Okay.
But yeah, Amazon, and fingers crossed, I'm working on another deal to get it on Walmart.ca. So look out for that.
Great. What's next?
Man, I am so open to different ideas
Okay.
and things happening. I have another book that I'm working on, my own personal book that might be out. Watch this space. That's all I got to say, right?
Yeah.
It might be out this year. We'll see what happens with the new me. But I'm always out there speaking. I'm always doing motivational speaking in different locations. So again, anyone wants to hear it, hit me up on social media. Come on out. I love to hear. I love to have you. And yeah, just kind of, again, watch a space for all the ideas that are coming through.
Wonderful. That's Jeff A.D. Martin.
Thank
This
you, my
is,
friend. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
this is what we've been talking about over the last few minutes. Uh, he's the second one. He's two of the talented 10. So I'm working on the other talented 10. A third and fourth one should be on. Yes, there's a picture of them too. That's the back of the book.
That's
My
right.
name is Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 award winner in the innovation category, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Always like to say thank you for watching live on the replay. Like to thank the people that caught this live. I know Danny Stone is out there somewhere.
What's up, Danny? What's up? What's good?
And Tasha watched. A few other people watched it live, and also actually Ryan Holtz, I was actually met him for the first time last night. He won the podcasting award category given out by buyblacks.com, which is another platform that I am very close with. He won the It actually came in from Vancouver, so I'm gonna see if Ryan would like to have Jeff on his platform. Actually, Ryan was in Toronto, and he actually interviewed the lady that put on the event with Barack Obama.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very good. Very good.
He was in town, so I'm going to make sure that he finds out about New Me and gets you on his platform. Last thing I'd like to say, because I'm sharing New Me out, guys. I'm sharing it out, making people aware all over whenever I can. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions, and finally, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. And because of the influence that the Indigenous family that I now have in Yellowknife, I'd like to say Masi Cho. And Masi Cho in Indigenous language means thank you. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.
One love.